From the 22 News Plus studio, this is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of InFocus. I'm your host, Patrick Berry. Today, I have two amazing women in the room with me, and we are talking about the advancement of youth in the arts. So please join me in welcoming both Jen Lawless. She's on your left. She's the Mass Cultural Council's Senior Director of Program Operations. And on your right is Eileen McCaffrey. She is the Executive Director of the Community Music School of Springfield. Thank you both for joining me. I appreciate your time. Jen, I want to start with you because not everything that Eileen does, but the vast majority of the way our youngest citizens of Massachusetts, our students, and even before that, preschool age, the way they're exposed to arts is really through the work of the Mass Cultural Council. Tell me a little bit about the programs, your role with the MCC, and the importance of getting our kids exposed to the arts.
Yeah, great. And thanks so much for having us. Mass Cultural Council really believes that the arts are essential for everyone's development, whether you're a young person, an adult, whether you're involved in the arts or not. It's really core to our values. And so Mass Cultural Council has a number of programs that support youth. And when you asked about our programs, the short answer is all of them in some way support young people. So, we have an operating support program for organizations. It's unrestricted operating support. We trust organizations to spend the dollars wisely. And so we have some youth-serving organizations that are in that program. We're really lucky in the state to have the Cultural Facilities Fund, which is for capital improvements and helps, repair leaking roofs, build out permanent stage equipment, So we do have organizations who serve youth who apply for that individually. If you're a young person in this state and you're over 18 and you're not in a degree granting program, you can apply for a grant for creative individuals, $5,000 unrestricted. Wow. Use it for supplies, use it to go to a residency. We really try to let as many of our funds as possible be unrestricted because we really know artists and humanists and cultural entrepreneurs kind of know what they need. Then kind of if you want to go into more programmatic things, one of the things that makes Massachusetts incredibly unique is we have the local cultural council program, and we've expanded it to include tribal cultural councils. So this is the largest grassroots funding network in the nation. There is no other state in Massachusetts that has 329 local cultural councils that serve all 351 cities and towns. So
that's amazing. I didn't even know that.
You have neighbors in your community who volunteer, who've been appointed by the town or city, who receive funds from us, and they decide who gets the grant funding in the community. It's not someone in Boston. It's your neighbors and people in the community. So
nice.
A large percent of that funding goes to support programs at schools, programs for kids at libraries. It's one of the kind of unsung arts education and human education components that we have. And the really cool thing is not only can you apply for money to get a grant to support a youth-based program, young people can serve on their local cultural councils in most cities and towns. So some towns want you to
get a different
18.
voice
than
just the older adults in the room.
And not only that, but it's, a civic education and government education for young people. So if you can't be an official voting member of your LCC, you can be an intern, you can volunteer, you can get credit for your community service hours for schools. So we really like to remind people that every city and town has a council that represents them. So you can go to our website and find your local cultural council and join up.
So Eileen, based on that description, do you work with the Springfield Cultural Organization, the organization that kind of manages, to Jen's point, the Springfield aspect, or do you work directly with the Mass Cultural Center?
We work with
Mass
both.
Cultural Council.
Yeah, we work with both, actually. And it's kind of fun for us to be having this conversation because the community music school has experience in the impact on almost every program that Jen just mentioned. And so the impact of the unrestricted operating is so that organizations, community music school's been here in Springfield for 42 years now. And the unrestricted operating helps us just as an organization continue to thrive. but it's the individual programmatic support that Jen was talking about that has, over the last 12 years at the community music school, we're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of young people who have had direct impact from funding that comes through the state. And the local cultural council, which is the Springfield Cultural Council, is amazing and funds incredible projects. So we're also connected with them. They support the Dr. King Day celebration that you all know about. They support some of our intern programs. It's just such a central piece of community lift, and I'm so happy that we're talking about it today, because I think a lot of times people think of it as like this thing in Boston, and it's actually deeply impactful for the ecosystem here in Springfield.
You're exactly right, because until you mentioned it, Jen, I didn't realize. I thought everything sort of went back to your office. I didn't realize you designated the local cultural councils, the 300 plus of them.
$5.7 million. We provided $5.7 million to them to distribute, but many leverage local funds from cities and towns and from donors and events. So the impact, they're funding over 8,000 projects in a year.
Wow, 8,000 projects
Every
across
city and town in
351 cities and towns.
There is not a city or town that don't touch through that program.
And it's really beautiful, Patrick, just to stay on the local cultural council piece. Here in Springfield, we have the local cultural council does a pitch night.
Okay.
And they bring everybody together, and everybody gets a couple of minutes to share their project. And think about how that amplifies the message of first of all, it's such a point of pride. I love going because I get to see all these incredible artists and, all different ways of approaching.
And they must feed on each other. So there might be one pitch person sitting there going, oh, wait a minute. We should partner with them because the two of us together, 3 or 4 or 5 of us together, create a bigger awareness.
That's exactly right. And isn't that what this is all about?
Absolutely.
Right. And I think it deeply roots us as a community, because we all then go to everybody's things.
Right.
But it also is a very clever way of distributing funds that are close to the ground. Because, we really do believe that the people closest to the situation understand it best.
Absolutely.
Right. And so if that's true in the arts, then it's not only the larger organizations like the music school, who have the ability to have a platform like this where I can speak to you and talk about the work of the Mass Cultural Council, but it's our individual artists who are our teaching artists that also can be funded. It's really quite a beautiful virtuous circle.
Very good. We are up on our first commercial break, so stay with us. We've got plenty more to talk about when it comes to local arts. We're back in a moment.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry. This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Welcome back, everyone, to this edition of In Focus. We're here in the 22 News Plus studios. Sitting across the desk from me today are Jen Lawless and Eileen McCaffrey. Jen is from the Mass Cultural Council, and Eileen is from the Community Music School of Springfield. And we're talking about really the benefits of youth involvement in the arts. Jen has already blown my mind with the 329? 329? 329.
We have 4 tribal cultural.
So I live in Westfield, and I'm intimately familiar with Westfield on weekends and Artworks Westfield. But I think of like the Berkshires, like Chester, Huntington, Ashfield, or Shelburne Falls. If a community like that doesn't have its own cultural council, they pair up with a neighbor. Is that how it works?
We do have a few that have regionalized. So the Cultural Council of Northern Berkshires, there are 11 communities that are working together. Martha's Vineyard, we have 6 that have regionalized. And then we have a lot of partnerships, usually around a regional school district like Acton Boxborough or Hinsdale, Peru. So that's why there's not 351 LCCs, because some of them have joined up and are working together.
Which, again, makes perfect sense. Whether it's Northern Berkshires or Martha's Vineyard, closely related communities, similar interests, similar challenges. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense. So, like an organization like the Community Music School, I can't. I mean, you probably know this more than anybody. How many similar organizations that support the arts in Springfield? There's got to be dozens, if not hundreds.
Oh yes,
right?
absolutely. Yeah.
But that's a great thing for Massachusetts, that there are so many different organizations in each of our communities. But correct me if I'm wrong, Jen, it's the local, you keep pointing out, it's the local.
For this program that make the decisions
Right.
on the funding. And then we have direct grant programs as well, where the applications come to the Mass Cultural Council and we review them. But we want it to be a mix of local control and, some of our direct funding. And
So what types of programs are there throughout the state?
Programs
Maybe
that we fund or programs that we offer?
Let's talk about the ones that you fund, maybe the ones targeting youth.
Yeah. So there's two more programs we have that do support youth. One is our Creative Experience Grant, which is a 1-year project-based grant. It's really wide open. We see a lot of applications from schools to bring in an artist, to do an artist in residence, field trips, classes and workshops. So that's a 1-year low lift, really broadly available grant program. Those are $2,500 or $5,000. And then the kind of most committed and focused program we have is Youth Reach. And Youth Reach is a program with a 30-year history that's really nurtured creativity and leadership potential in young people. And it really recognizes and centers their lived experience. Creative youth development is a practice. It's a really intentional practice that supports young people's dreams, stories, and ideas through creative expression, and really helps them kind of find their voice and, make an impact. And so that's the type of work we're thrilled to fund your community music school and our other Youth Reach organizations, because they're transformational programs.
So have you on the state level, and Eileen, you locally at community music school, seen an increase in youth participation in arts programs across the state and here locally?
Absolutely. In fact, when we started using one of the programs that Ben is talking about, it was then called the STARS grant. Now it's called Creative Experiences. That I think Springfield was had the fewest applications for that grant about 12 years ago.
Really?
And it was because it was very difficult to get the way that it was structured. It was really tricky to get teaching artists at the community music school to be able to work in the schools. And so what we did was we partnered with the schools so that they had to be the folks who were applying for the grant. It couldn't be the music school. And once we started working with that, we started with 3 schools, this was 12 years ago, in our Sonido Musica program. And we piloted it in 3 schools using this grant, $5,000. And I'm happy to report we're one of the, outside of Boston, Springfield is now one of the largest recipients of any of these grants.
Really?
There's over 60 schools in this area that have been able to be recipients of the grant, the Creative Experience Grant, which allows teaching artists to go in and spend a year working with young people. And it's really transformative. So those programs, and then what we can do is we can get outside funding from foundations to support the work. And you talk about transformational. I'll give you an example. We started over a decade ago in the Sonido Musica program, watching those young people go from elementary school into middle school into high school.
Right.
They then go off to college, Patrick, and then they come back and they work as teaching artists. So our programs now, a third of the 90 people that we have at the community music school in this work, a third of them are Springfield Public School graduates who have gone off into the world and come back to give back to their very community. Now you talk about workforce development,
right,
and you talk about teacher shortages. We have a solution when we partner with funding organizations like the Mass Cultural Council for a long-term commitment, even though these
it has to be long-term, or else you never reap the benefits of it.
And also you can invest in hiring that many faculty and staff if the job is going to go away in a year. So this knowing that the state funds and then the Mass Cultural Council then recognizes the work, it's really quite a remarkable ecosystem.
Fantastic. We are up on our second commercial break, so please stay with us. Lots more to talk about when it comes to youth and the arts. We're back in just a moment.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry. This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Welcome back, everyone, to today's discussion here on InFocus. We're here in the 22 News Plus studios. We're talking about youth and the arts. Joining me across the desk from the Mass Cultural Council is Jen Lawless, and from the Community Music School of Springfield, Eileen McCaffrey. Thank you both so very much. You know, as we were having the last conversation before we went to break, you were talking about the importance and the growth of kids in the arts. What was running through my head was this, and I don't know if it's true, accurate, whether it's really happening or not, the cutting of arts in schools. So you guys are more involved in this than I am. I haven't had kids in the school district in a long time, but are our local districts cutting back on the arts? Because there's STEM education, but then there's the phrase STEAM education, and I always call it STEAM because I think arts are so crucial in a child's education. So are our local school districts cutting back on arts? And if they are you guys partnering with superintendents or leaders in school districts or communities to keep the youth involved?
So happy you asked that question because it's a very big point of pride. Springfield has made a commitment that was, I think, one of the few in the country that made the decision in 2019 to put arts back into elementary, public, and high school. So you're quite right that really from the 70s, there was a year by year, either existing or not existing, for a lot of arts funding across the country. But here in Springfield, I'm so proud to say, in Holyoke as well, the recognition of art as part of a whole child's education. If you think about it, what you come to school for are the things that bring you joy,
well-rounded education,
creativity, perseverance. I mean, you're studying an instrument, it takes hard work,
right? But
also you have a sense of the culture. And I think that's really important. When our kids show up to be part of a group activity, if they're missing, if they're not there, if they don't come to school, the group notices because it doesn't sound the same.
Whether it's a kid or an adult class, I notice when somebody is not in my class, you pick up on that.
And so that idea of having a responsibility to the group, having the resilience to work through something hard, it's for all the arts. Think about and then we get creativity and joy. So you blend that all together and you say, what would it look like from preschool? I mean, we're fortunate that we have a preschool all the way up through, and the commitment that the superintendent from Springfield Public Schools, Dr. Denal, herself is a product of arts education in her. So she and the team, and also in Holyoke, there's a real recognition of the power of the arts. So we're so lucky and so proud to work in a community that values that. Now, it doesn't mean that there's not a constant fight for funding.
Of course.
And that's where our friends at the Mass Cultural Council come in because they have the platform to get funding at the state level that then can trickle down to, we work with 2,500 kids a week.
Wow.
Through arts. Now you take that over a decade.
Exactly.
And you look at 25,000 kids in the school district.
Right.
So we're transforming, not we, the music school, but this community is leveraging each other's superpowers.
So are you seeing the same thing, Jen, where school districts are recognizing the importance of arts in our kids' educational?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think we talk a lot about it, and we have a lot of great partners in this work. I love hearing that some of your participants through your Youth Reach and other programs came back to be teachers in the field, or we love when kids go on to be artists or work at cultural organizations. But ultimately, their participation in Youth Reach and in the arts means they're also, because they have the creativity, problem solving, that communication, they're going to be better at whatever job they have, whether they're going to be a doctor or an engineer or, an HVAC technician or carpenter or teacher. Like, the arts education is making them better at the things they need to do well: problem solving, creativity, connection, relationship building. So I think it is recognized as a core value and is valued in the state and in schools. I think the challenge is schools are having to face a lot of demands, budgetary, testing. There's just a lot happening, but I think we have a lot of really strong partners in the work and commitment and recognition of the value. We get a lot of support to kind of continue that message.
Where do we see the future of kids' education of the arts? Is there anything on the horizon that either of you are working on, or any of the organizations that you partner with, or the folks that you know? Anything? I mean, I know in Westfield, they're always trying to, like in Westfield on weekends, artworks are always trying to get the kids involved, highlight, youth artists, musicians, whatever it might be, authors. Are you seeing like changes like with digital? I mean, the explosion of digital literacy. Are kids doing more and more?
I'll give you one example of how we were able to use some of the Mass Cultural Council's funding. Out of the Sonido Musica program, we recognize that a number of our young people in the schools with neurodivergency, kids with autism, were responding particularly to the arts. And so the community music school, through some of the funding of the Mass Cultural Council and also some of our foundation funding and individuals, were able to start a program that has been a national model. It's called the Adaptive Music Program. It was recognized by the Kennedy Center, the very special Art SVSA program. It's a national model now. And we work with about 800 young people in the Springfield area right now. And if you think about groundbreaking work in education that's happening because of the arts, it's also building a sense of community for families, that they're not in this alone, that there's this whole environment that art can reach, which is, art and health and public health. And so I think that the entry point for the arts as not just something in school that creates kids coming to school, so attendance is up, but also and graduation rates go up. We know all of that, but what about the way it affects the community and community health? So I think that when you ask about like the future, I think that intersection between arts and public health is starting to be recognized more and more.
Also, arts in the local economy. Everything. Think about it nowadays. Everybody buys something online somewhere, but you can't see an artist paint their. You can watch it digitally, but there's nothing beats walking down a sidewalk and seeing an artist, working on a piece of art or performing or doing so. But again, it adds, every cultural council in every city is creating a little micro economy just because of the arts. And I see it in Westfield all the time.
Yeah.
Jen, last question for you. If people want to learn more about the MCC, what can they do? Where should they go?
massculturalcouncil.org. So everything is there. We have agency dates. We have deadline. We'll list our dates that programs open and the deadline dates. And I just want to say, at Mass Cultural Council, we love hearing from you. So anyone who has a question, don't hesitate to call, don't hesitate to email. The staff is incredible. We have office hours, info sessions, really, we want to be there for you. If you haven't met us before and you want to get to know us, we're happy to help.
Fantastic. Eileen, same question. Where can people learn more?
CommunityMusicSchool.com is our WW. Of course, we're on the, we have all kinds of programs in the schools. We also have after-school programs. So we'd love to, we're proud to be in this community. We've been here for over 40 years. And again, with the support of folks like the Mass Cultural Council, we'll keep on doing our work, and we're really proud to be in this work.
Fantastic. Thank you both for joining me today. A great discussion, and I'm excited to see all the things that are available to the kids in our communities.
You can always join your local cultural.
Absolutely. Good seeing you both. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.